My name is Rick. I don't know why I always had these butterflies. My name is Rickey H, and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic addict. My sobriety date is 1/28/05. And for that date, I will always be grateful. Y'all gotta kind of forgive me because I get emotional, man. Because God was able to do for me what I could not do for myself. And that's the God honest truth. I grew up a couple of hours away from here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My parents had 8 kids. I'm number 7. I was the baby for 6 years, so I was spoiled. And from my earliest recollection, man, I was different. And I felt different. And I thought I was different, and I was. You know, I had brothers and sisters, man. Let me start with this. I had a father that did not play. He meant what he said, and he said what he meant, and you get a good ass whooping if you don't follow directions. So I was the only kid out of 8 that didn't follow directions. So, like I said, man, from my earliest recollections, man, I felt different. I was different. I didn't like rules. I didn't like to follow the rules. You say go left, I'm going right. I don't much know why. You know, and my dad would tell us, don't let the street light catch you out, you know, outside this house. And my brothers and sisters had to come look for me. And when I got home, I got that ass whipped. And next week, I'd do the same thing. Couldn't stay in school. I'm kind of cold. I couldn't stay in school from elementary on through school. I was the only kid. My parents had to come up to the schoolhouse to see about me or come get me and take me home because I'm suspended at grade age for doing some mischievous stuff. And from my earliest recollection, man, I remember 2nd and 3rd grade, I realized something about myself, that I couldn't keep up with class. I was slow. And by me being that mischievous child, and hindsight, doing my 4th and 5th step, man, I realized, man, I was dealing with some pride as a child. And I didn't want to admit to the teacher or no one else that I wasn't understanding. And I chose the fact of being even mischievous and disrupting the class and acting out, trying to hide the fact that I'm different. You know, I didn't want to be looked down on or be seen as different. And by me being disruptive and seemed like people would leave me alone, and I thought that was the solution. Well, growing up with that type of mindset got me in a whole bunch of trouble, man. You know, I was quick to fight. It wasn't that I was a good fighter, I just fought. I didn't win all of that. Come to find out, man, I was unmanageable as a child. I was unmanageable as a teenager. I was unmanageable as a young man. Because I can get good jobs, but I couldn't keep them. And I started experimenting with weed and beer, you know, alcohol. I want to say around 12 or 13 years old. You know, 3 of my brothers were way older than I am. My brother that was next to me, he and I, we was 7 years apart. And we had a sister in between us, and by the time he got in college, which was McNeese State University in Lake Charles, here I am, 12, 13 years old. Come to find out, he was putting himself through school selling weed by the pound. And he called himself turning me on and trying to give me the game. I can remember him saying, I'd rather show you here at home than for you to go out in the streets and learn. And so I started smoking weed because I admired my big brothers, man. They was all tall, big men. I was a short boy in the family. And I had 2 brothers that were 6'6", 2 of them 6'4". I ended up 6 foot even. You know, my sisters, man, they never got the brother behind anything. But when I started selling weed for him in high school, I never had that man money right. And so of course, after a few times, you know what happened. And I'm talking about the unmanageability, even with this weed. So when I fell off into the alcohol and I moved to Houston, Texas, I was 18 in 1976. And quickly found a job working construction. And, you know, I had my older sister was living here and I was living with with her and her husband. And I quickly got on my feet in the 70s, man. The economy was good. You could quit a job and go get another job real quick. You know. And smoking weed and drinking was my thing, and selling weed, you know. And in my mid-20s, man, cocaine hit the streets real tough, you know, in the form of crack. And I had some friends that I had halfway grew up with that became crack addicts, cocaine addicts, because they were shooting though. I lasted a couple of years, man. Oh, man, they do what they do. They hustlers. They do what they do. They steal my pocket. I'm still hanging out with them. So one night I decided to give that stuff a try. And I held my arm out. That was the best feeling I ever had in my life. And I started using it on weekends. That turned into one day out the week. And it turned into every day. And of course, I was drinking all along. I never went without the alcohol. But when I got here, I didn't want to admit that I was alcoholic because of what I had in my mind what alcohol was. You know, always bumming the chains, brown paper bag, all that stuff. But I drank every day, but I didn't think I was alcoholic. Well, anyway, man, you know, when I got hooked on cocaine, man, it took me so quick, I lost everything in a matter of 9 months, you know, and I didn't know anything about a 12-step program. I was real young. I was in my mid-20s, you know. All I know, man, is I felt defeated, you know. My older sister, man, she would see me and just bust out crying. She tried to help me as much as she could until she just had to give up on me. You know, and the thing is, man, is that coming into the program, this is my 4th attempt at permanent sobriety. First 3 times, man, I came in. The first time I ever came in, I went to meetings 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock at night. I got the literature. I had a guy that was willing to sponsor me. But I never did read the doctor's opinion. He told me to read the doctor's opinion and get back with him. I never did read the doctor's opinion, so of course I had to go back with him. So 9 months passed, and I was in the grocery store getting groceries, and I looked at some beer, and I seen those Coronas, and my mind said, one of them would sure taste good. And I said, you know what, you sure right. And I picked up a 6-pack of Corona, and against my conscience, man, that night, I'm wrestling with my conscience about popping one of those Coronas. And you know how you get tired of wrestling with yourself, in yourself? And I say, forget it. Pop that Corona and chug a lug. And let me tell you, the next weekend I found myself, after I got paid, in a trap house smoking crack. Because back in the late 80s, sharing needles, you know, HIV had came out and they was talking about sharing needles and stuff like that. And you can catch HIV from sharing needles, so that scared me, you know. So everybody smoking crack. Instead of my mind saying, man, why don't you just leave it all alone? My mind said, try the crack. You know, which now I know that was my illness talking to me. And I began to smoke this crack, man, and my God. You know, in and out of jail. I never made it to TDC, man, but I hit the county more times than I wanted to. And I remember briefly coming back into these rooms, man, asking for help. And When I get to feeling better, looking better, doing better, then I'll stop showing up to these meetings. And I did that twice. Then it was a 5-year stint between me and the meetings, and those 5 years was hellish, man. I suffer from a rare form of arthritis called writer's syndrome. It don't only attacks the joints in your bones, but it also attacks some of my organs. You know, it can blind you, it can cripple you. You know, I was blind in my left eye for 12 and a half years, all because of this writer's syndrome. And by me drinking the way I was drinking and using the way I was using, I could see my sight diminishing in that left eye, but I wouldn't go to the doctor. So I was too busy chasing that drink in that eye, man. And when I did go, you know, they examined my eye, they seen where I was suffering from the writer's syndrome and everything, and technology hadn't caught up, and they was talking about, well, we can do a surgery, but we can't promise you this. Well, you're not about to, you know, in my mind, you're not about to experiment on me. I just waited out. And I went years, 12 and a half years to be exact, blind in one eye. And you know, one of my occupations is, you know, I drive trucks. So, you know, of course that was out the window. You can't pass a DOT physical, you can't get a license, you know, you can't get a job. So, doing odds and ends jobs, I learned how to do a little carpentry, hanging sheetrock, little roofing, anything that I can do, you know, to earn money. But all my money was going to the streets, you know. So to fast forward, man, here it is 2005, 2004, when I hit a bottom that I had never experienced. And I could tell my breathing had got shallow. You know, I was breathing real short one day. And one night, man, I was laying there, man, I just refused to go to the hospital. And I began to have slight chest pains. And I told my wife, she said, man, let's go to the emergency room. We'll wait until the morning to see if I feel better. The morning came, the pain was still there. She's getting ready to go to work. She said, man, let's go to the hospital. Well, when you come home, if I'm not feeling better, I'll go. She came home, I wasn't feeling better, so I took my butt to the hospital at Bentar. And they rushed me right in because of chest pains and everything. They started running these quick tests. My right lung had collapsed. I was filling up with fluid. And it was so full of fluid that it was pressing on artery that was leading to my heart. That was causing me to have mild pains in my chest. So they didn't want to put me under, so they numbed one side of me, man. They put this thing over me and they slit me open a little bit and it began to push this chest tube into my lung, looking at the x-ray. And let me tell you, when that tube made it to that lung and all those nerves in your lung, man, I was hollering. I didn't know I could holler like that, you know. And that wasn't the worst part of it. When they did get it in a place that they needed it, they had to begin to pump, begin to suction for the fluid to start draining out on its own. Feel like an elephant sitting in your chest. I'm talking about painful. And it took him about 3 or 4 times before it started draining on his arm. Well, that was the beginning of it. You know, in Bill's story, he said how dark it is before it's over. He said, little I know, man, I was on my last debacle with alcohol. You know, he said it felt like quicksand stretched all around me. So I know that feeling, that deep sinking feeling, man, that complete hopelessness, despair. You know, the 4 horsemen they talk about, you know, I was feeling that shit, man. I didn't know at the time. But when I got into this 12-step literature, I began to realize that I had passed through a lot of the things that the book was mentioning, man. You know, and I had a sponsor, man, that when I got here this time, on paper, deferred adjudication, called it assault case. It was well documented that I was an addict. So my the judge, questioning me, man, I was like, man, I don't need no 12 step. She said, okay, You clean right now, but you know. And so I went a few months, man, and then I started turning in those dirty UAs. So they quickly told me to find a 12-step program, gave me that paper to be signed, and I went to the only place I knew, which was North Wayside, on Laura Copy back then. They're no longer in existence. I began to attend meetings grudgingly, got a resentment. You know, these people that railroad me and put me on 4 years deferred. They gave me a choice, man, 4 years deferred or 2 years TDC. I take the deferred shit, you know. Which I didn't know that shit was a trap, man. You know, if you don't do right on that deferred, I don't care how much good time you got, they'll back it up in whatever case you caught, they'll stack that shit in there. That's more time, you know what I'm saying? So it's only by the grace of God, man, when I got to North Wayside, there was heavy hitters in that room, man, and for some reason, man, those old timers caught my attention. And plus I had this old guy, man, that he would meet me every night at that desk when I was picking up my paper, and he wanted to talk, you know, about my sobriety. You know, how much time you got? Do you have a sponsor? You know? And this was all in the first night. I met him. And I remember he looking over, he put his head down, and when he raised his head back up, he looked over his glasses. He said, "I'm your sponsor." In my mind, I was like, "I just motherfucker know I want to be my sponsor." But because I wanted to get away from him, I was like, "All right, man, because I ain't about to do shit you talking about." In my mind, in my heart at that time. And so he said, "Hey, man, you got the literature?" "Yeah, I got a book. I got to find it though." You know? And when you find it, man, read the doctor's opinion, man. This thing was about 5-6 pages long. It's not much to read. You know, my slow ass, I had been away from a book for so long. When I did open that book, man, I was like, the doctor. I was like, "Sharon, my wife, come here." I was in the bedroom. Cause I got tired of this man riding me every night, man, after the meeting about some goddamn doctor's opinion. You know? So I decided I was gonna do this shit just to, so he quit fucking with me about that, man. Excuse my language, I don't know if y'all care. It's okay? Okay. And she came back there, "Man, what you want?" I said, "Man, my sponsor want me to read this, man. I'm struggling. What you want me to do?" She mad at me and shit, you know. I've been messing up bad, man. I said, "Man, help me read the thing, man." So we sat down and she began to read it too. And I'm following along with her and stuff. And I couldn't wait till that night come on. I'm gonna get his ass just to get fucking with me by the doctor. And sure enough, after the meeting, bringing his happy ass over there, all happy, joyous, and free and shit, you know. And we talking. He said, "By the way, and I'm waiting on this shit. Did you read the doctor's opinion?" I said, "Yeah, I read it." He was like stunned, you know. He said, "Man, give him about 10 minutes. Let it kind of settle down, and then we're going to get right here, and I'm going to break it down for you." All right. Man, when that man, oh, gee. That man got my slow ass to understand about the obsession of the mind and the phenomenon of gravity. God is my witness, man. That man had answered a question I've been asking myself for 20 years. Why every time I take a drink or hit that shit, I got to go do all the shit that I do. Because I'm the type of alcoholic addict that take penitentiary graveyard chances. I'm an armed robber in my youth when I was a young man. I would break in your goddamn house, mister. I was doing shit I never thought I would do, man. I would go in your driveway and take your goddamn car. I never thought in my wildest dream growing up that I would do some stuff like that toward people, man. I wasn't raised like that. I didn't believe in that. Let me tell you something about this alcoholic addiction. It'll have your ass out there doing shit that you don't believe in. That's not you. And when I began to understand about the phenomenon of craving and its obsession, it's like a fire lit in my soul. And all I know, I wanted some more of this information. And I became willing to try to the best of my ability to learn what these other people said had freed them. And I studied and I went to meetings and I sat on that front row and I paid attention. And I would talk to people after the meeting, the old timers, and they would just accept me, man. And I can't believe that I told my sponsor some of the stuff that I told him, because I truly wanted to be free. And he's sitting his ass over there laughing and shit. I ain't see shit funny, man. I was embarrassed, you know, but I wanted to be free. And he looked up, he said, Rickey, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you, because all the stuff you just told me, I've done, or something real similar to it. And it's like, whew. And I remember we finishing up that stuff in the back room at Wayside, sitting across tables from each other. And he was lining me up on what's next. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting down in the chair. I felt something lift off my entire body. It's like something just rose up off me. I mean, the flesh crawling and the hair standing up and shit, I experienced that. Now I know it was a spiritual experience. And I told him, I said, man, I'm feeling this. And he said, man, that's all them burdens you have been carrying. All those deep, dark secrets, you know? And all I know, I wanted some more of that. I was dealing with a lot of fear, man, because my whole life and everything I touched, I fucked it up. Now it's time to try to reach out to somebody and carry this message. Try to get somebody to work with. And I was afraid, man, because of what I used to do. And I remember reaching out to these guys, man, and they you know, I'm cleaning up North Wayside, man. They wasting coffee everywhere, taking out the trash. And I would find out who would get there early, and I would go up in there and mop and sweep and the most nasty Eskimos and taking out trash. That's all I knew to do, man. I didn't want to go on the corner. I didn't want to go to the people that I used to hang out with. I was sincerely trying to change people, places, and things. And here they come with service work now. I remember making a year, and you know, man, I'm feeling good. By then I had got a sponsor to go all the way through, because I had tried, man. I became a part of H&I. I've done 12 or 13 years every Monday at 6 o'clock at Cheyenne Center on 59 down here for 12 or 13 years. Well, within my first year, you know, fell off into that, and I'm doing that. I finally got a sponsor to go past 3 and went all the way through. And we 8 months apart in sobriety. And then I came up on that year, man. Oh my God. I remember my brother, my younger brother lives out here, and we rode to Lake Charles to spend Christmas Day with my parents, man. I was gonna make a year at January, it was December, so I had 11 months. And we rode to Lake Charles to spend Christmas Day with my parents. My parents was old, you know. And I remember after lunch, man, we all sitting in the den talking, general conversation. And I was sitting in between my dad, he was in his recliner, my mom was in her rocker, and we just talking. My sisters and brothers on the sofa, TV going, and we just talking. And my daddy was saying something, and I was looking at him, man. And after he finished talking, and I looked at my mom, man, it's the God's on the street. I heard a distinct voice saying, this time next year, she's not gonna be with y'all. And my heart fell in my chest. Well, I shared it with my brother on the way back home that night, and we just got quiet. Okay, so I celebrated that January. I felt good about my year. I wanted to increase on my spirituality through self-sacrifice and service work. Because that's what the old timers taught me to do. That's what the book suggests for me to do. You know, the book talks about those 3 stones. you got a cornerstone that talks about. Now, if y'all don't know where they're at, you need to get in your book and find it. Because I'm not going to tell you where they're at. Because that's what they did me. They made me go find that stuff, man. You got a keystone, and then step 12, you got a foundation stone. So in order for me to strengthen it. Now this is spiritual. You see that arch back there? That's what it's really talking about. So I want to lay a solid foundation, man. So I'm on the newcomers, man. I want to work with people, man. Because I have been relieved from the obsession to want to kill myself on the suicide plan by drinking and using drugs. So they sold me on that. Well, anyway, man, you know, I was on disability. Remember, I was blind in one eye for 12 and a half years. I had a few other things going on physically. I was on disability. My sponsor said, look, man, it's good you coming to a meeting every night. But you need to get out here and catch some other meetings, man. There's plenty of good people in Houston, in these rooms that you need to meet. And you need to get to know them and let them get to know you. I was like, man, I'm all right, man. I'm cool right here. You know, Wayside, man, shit, this the shit right here, man. No, man, you're gonna need more than Wayside. So I began to grudgingly take the suggestions, and I started venturing out. Went downtown to the old men's center back then. Started meeting people, attended 6:30 meeting in the morning, and met some people over there. It's like, man, I know it's hard hitting meeting that man on the south side. I was like, for real, man? I said, man, them old timers go hard up and then they don't play. You know, get your coffee when we go there, get your coffee, sit your ass down, pee, to do what you need to do, because when the meeting starts, they ain't going for all that moving around shit. You know, so he showed me where it was. It was off of Belford, way out in South Park, man. And they had been there for years, man. It looked like this old shopping center was about to fall down. You know, some of the solid steel towers was missing and shit. I was like, God damn. You know, and sure enough, them old timers was spitting this recovery, man. You know, they was in that book. And everywhere I went, I had my books. Yeah, like everywhere I went, I had that crack pipe and a beer in my hand. Everywhere I went, I had them goddamn books with me, man. Because remember, I'm slow and I got to pay extra attention. Because I want to get this, man. I want this. Man, leave third tradition. Man, I know where this other meeting at, man. Because I had a car, you know. All right, man, let's go. Group called Free at Last. Go there. Third tradition, 11 to 12, Free at Last, 12 to 1. You know, go back to the Reed Center at 2 o'clock, they got a meeting there open. Then every night at 8 o'clock, I was at Wayside. Man, I'm trying to pump this thing as hard as I could. You know. And what it led to, man, it led to a pattern. Working with others, going to meetings. I used to do a lot of service work. I don't do as much service work anymore, but I still do. Don't get me wrong, it's not like what I used to be. I done been a part of convention committees. I done been a part of H&I for all those years. I don't do that anymore. I done held 2 offices at Wayside back in the day. I was GSR. They approached me when I made that year, right before my mom died, man. They approached me with the GSR slot. You had to, you know, one of the qualifications, you had to have a year of sobriety. And I didn't want to do it. My sponsor told me I better do it and all this other shit. You know, I'm looking at you, little bony, bug-eyed motherfucker. I couldn't stand his ass, man. Then he was a little arrogant motherfucker. You know, walking around with his suit on and shit. He sold insurance and then he was a preacher. Oh, let me tell y'all this. 30 days after I let this man start sponsoring, right when I got on fire for this thing, and somebody was like, Rick, man, who your sponsor? I say, Tim. I said, yeah, little Tim, kind of short, skinny, and said, well, I was wearing the suit. He said, oh, the preacher? I said, oh, nah, he ain't a preacher. He selling insurance. He said, man, that man a preacher. So when I seen him that night, Tim, you a preacher? He said, yeah. First thing went in my mind, God, why you give me a sponsor for a preacher for? Oh, man. Yo, I didn't want to hear no preaching, man. And he never did preach. That man put me in that big book, and that's where we stayed. The only time I heard him preach when I was about 2.5 years sober, and me and my wife went to hear him preach in the church house. You know? But other than that, man, do no preaching. That man put me in them books. He talked strongly about the principle. He made me look up every principle. Look up the definition, don't only look them up, write them down, and the definition. Because you need to know what these things mean, because you can know how to practice it, you know. So they got me in a habit of looking up words with my slow ass, you know. Anyway, man, far and fast, man, you know, I fell off into this recovery process, man, by the grace of God. A sponsor, a strong support group. And I developed, I'm an addict, man. If I like it, give me some more. I don't give a damn if it's right, wrong, good, or bad. Give me some more of that shit. And I fell in love with recovery, so give me some more. And along the way, I learned how not to do certain things in my life. You know, the first part of step 1, it talks about admitting that we're alcoholics, / is a 2-part step, right? And that our lives have become a matter. Well, when it's talking about as a group of people, our lives, when you personalize it, like I said, I was unmanageable as a child, a young man, a husband, or employee. Man, I couldn't manage to do shit right for long. But that began to change, man. Employing some spiritual principles in my life. Willing to help people to understand like people help me. Understanding that they might not go all the way through, but that's okay. Keep coming back. If you fall off, bring your ass back. They used to say, if your ass fall off, pick it up, bring it in the room, we'll help you put it back on. They used to say that. There's a lot of things you don't hear too much in these rooms, that these old sayings. When I came in, man, they was talking shit about this recovery process, man. You know, one guy, he was telling his story, he got to the part where him and his family would go travel, his brothers and sisters would get introduced, he got explained. I was able to relate to that shit, you know, for real. Yeah. My parents, man, that's Johnny, that's Pat, that's Joanne, that's Sam, oh, Rickey, oh, that boy bad mother, that boy, good thing, you know. People don't need to know all that shit, man, you know. I ain't gonna tell my daddy that shit. Anyway, things like that people would say about themselves that I was able to relate to. Things that they would say about themselves, then go to the big book and show it to me, and there it is. I can relate to it. I can apply the solution to the problem that I'm having in that area. Because God is my witness, man. This has been the best 20 years of my whole adult life. I am so grateful for these 12-step meetings, these rooms. I used to come here, I don't even much know, man, it's been so long. 12, 13, maybe 15 years ago. I used to attend this meeting at night, years ago. Didn't y'all used to have a big bar over here? Oh, that's okay. I was like, cause I remember those, you know, Throne of Misery and all these others, you know, a lot of these pictures are old up in here. That was in here when I used to attend meetings. I didn't come a whole lot, but this was one of my, see, one of my things is going to the places where the newcomers at. I call it my fishing hole. Try to pluck one out the water to sponsor, you know. That's one of the tools I use, man. I used to go to different spots like this that got halfway houses and meeting halls and three-quarter houses. Man, my main goal was to carry this message, man. I still don't allow myself to feel puffed up or like I done did something, man, because my story, it has been proven to me that left up to my own devices, it's not going to turn out pretty. It's not going to turn out pretty, man. You know, both my parents are deceased, and I had a chance to make an amends to my mother before she died. I had 13 months of sobriety when my mom died. And you want to talk about some pain. I never felt anything like that. It was like a lump in my chest that just kept opening up, man. That shit hurted. And I remember falling into depression. My sponsor, he got real close to me, man, back then. And after the 6:30 meeting, man, Rick, let me back in breakfast. We went and ate breakfast, man. He talking to me. He trying to peek me, man, and see if I'm okay. And I kept, man, I'm okay, man, I'm okay. And I be damn, man. I went home, got in that bed, and I don't know what happened. I fell into a depression behind my mom pad. And I'm in my head. And I remember one of the thoughts I had. Because my mom was a praying mom. My mom didn't curse. You know, you had to make her real mad for her to say damn or something like that. You know, and I remember, and I knew my mom prayed for me a lot. And one of the thoughts was, man, who's gonna pray for me? And I heard a voice say, you gotta pray for yourself. So I increased on my praying. And then another thought followed. Do you think your mom would want you to give up on this recovery process and go back out there doing the stuff you used to do because she had to go on? No, she wouldn't want that. So that was one of the tools that I used when my mind early on in my recovery would go to try to mess me up like I don't have what I have. What God has given me, which is the gift of sobriety. And I have to learn how to maintain it and take care of that gift by practicing spiritual principles, by reaching out, trying to help other people. Man, I suffer from a horrible disease that affects me mentally, physically, and spiritually. Everything that makes me human, it affects me in those areas. Why wouldn't I be wanting to help somebody else that suffers from this thing? And I know, and I've felt, and I've experienced the horror and torture of this illness. It just don't make sense to me not to want to help somebody that's going through the same thing I had to go through. And you can recover. But this had to, for me, this had to be the most important thing in my life. I remember before my dad passed in 17. My wife and I had bought another home. It was an 8-year-old house when we bought it. And my sister before me and my dad was the only two that was still living in Lake Charles. And they didn't want to leave him in Lake Charles by itself, because my nephew in Oklahoma City was getting married, which was my sister's son, our only child. And they were going to Oklahoma City, so they brought Daddy here to Houston to stay here until they come back and they get him back. And they dropped him off at my house. So my dad seen my house. And to me, it's just a house, man. There's nothing spectacular. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage, two bath, nothing spectacular. It's not no great big, 400,000, 500,000, no. He couldn't even much hide how proud he was. Remember, I'm the black sheep. I'm the one that was expecting not to ever have shit. And he seen that accomplishment that I didn't think too much of. I had a home before this home that I sold and got this home. I was just trying to do a little better. Like I said, the house was 8 years old when I purchased it. But when he seen it, he was so proud that I had accomplished something like that. And that's all due because of this program and this fellowship. People that got more time than me, and guess what? A lot of guys that have that, a lot of people, men and women, that have less time than me, are teaching me. I don't have it. But what I do have is a daily reprieve contingent on my spiritual maintenance, and I'm aware of that today. So I don't run around doing all sorts of things. I'm gonna say this and be quiet, man. I had a bout with prostate cancer. At 18 years sober, man, I go to the doctor for a routine checkup. Prostate numbers came back real high. So he sent me to a urologist. I got to go through all these testing shit, man, which was horrible. The goddamn testing and the treatment was worse than the cancer. And along the way, man, I met a gentleman, Alan, back there that I've been knowing since I've been clean, but somehow we lost touch. I don't go like I used to. His home group is on the south side. I live in Spring, not too far from here. And I ran across him on the job, man. We started seeing each other every day, so of course, exchanged numbers, started communicating. And I shared with him what I was going through, and he had been going through it. Seemed like God put people in my life when I'm about to go through something, or they're about to go through something. He'll put people in my path to give me that extra strength, or for me to give them that extra strength, that they, the support they're gonna need. When I got diagnosed, man, I wasn't scared. You know what the first thought was? God, thank you for this 18 years, because you didn't have to give me this. 18 years of being free from this merciless obsession to want to use some type of mind-altering substance. To make a long story short, man, I got past the cancer, man. They cured it. I'm still on a medication that I don't like, because it gives me hot flashes. I don't have a lot of energy. It took all my muscle tissue. I lost 15 pounds, which I needed to lose. That helps. I like to eat, you know what I'm saying? But by the grace of God, man, I'm on the other side of it. Man, I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to come in and share bits and parts of pieces of my story. I hope I've been of help to someone or said something that would encourage someone to don't be afraid. Don't let fear stop you from trying to recover, man. Get a sponsor, get a literature, man. Do the best you can. Because one of the whys of my illness, man, I get a couple of weeks clean and sober, man, my belly full, I'm sleeping good, I'm rested, and then I think I can, not use from that. And that's a lie produced within my own self. And all my disease is trying to do is separate me from this 12-step program and take me back out there and try to kill me. Along the way, man, I've buried a lot of people I've met in these rooms along the way. Some of them young, some of them not. So anyway, man, I just want to thank y'all for allowing me to come in and be a part of y'all recovery. Because I need you guys just as bad as y'all need other people in this recovery process. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn the mic back over to my friend, and I wish y'all all well. Thank y'all.